Hello, No Pants Academy. Welcome back. This is Kate, and I'm coming at you with another exclusive interview with an expert. Today's expert is actually a guru, the LinkedIn guru, Jeff Young. And so, Jeff, I would just like to say hello and welcome you to No Pants Academy.
Thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be here. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm always looking for a new venue to teach. And as a matter of fact, if you talk about the word guru, if you actually look up the definition of the word guru in the dictionary, it actually says teacher. So it fits. That's why it fits me to a T.
Perfect. Well, we have much to learn from you today. So I would like to start out I just want to know a little bit more about you. Tell us, where are you at right now? And how did you get the name, the LinkedIn Guru?
Okay. Well, I'm currently based and I've lived for the most of my life here in Columbus, Ohio. I actually didn't get started using LinkedIn until I retired. So I've been retired for the last 10 years and using LinkedIn. I knew that when I retired, I would want to do something that would continue to help me network with other professionals and keep my skills and have a lot of fun. So I figured I needed a tool to help me do that. And the tool that popped up because of a recommendation was LinkedIn. And so I figured if I was going to use LinkedIn, the best way for me to utilize and learn how to use LinkedIn was to start to teach it to other people. So that's exactly what I started to do. And I've been doing that for 10 years now. And it's interesting because I've done it for a lot of the same kinds of folks. One of the things about LinkedIn is that you really can't get a hold of it all at once. So you kind of have to continue to learn about it. And I had at least one of my good friends who actually came to like 6 or 8 of my seminars. I do about 60 different seminars a year. And he came to about 6 or 8 of my seminars. And about the 6th one, he walks up to me afterwards and he says, Jeff, you're a real guru at this. And I went, guru, maybe I can use that. That might actually work. And of course, he also, being the jokester that he is, he says, you know what guru stands for, don't you? And I said, well, I think I understand what a guru is. What do you mean? He says, well, it's an acronym, okay? It's GURU. It stands for General Understanding Relatively Useless. I knew he was joking because he is a good friend, but I'm also not the kind of guy that lets that kind of thing lie. So about 2 weeks later, I got him in a noogie and got him in a headlock and said, I know what guru stands for. Guru stands for gets to uncover the real usefulness instead.
There you go.
That's what I've been doing. That's what I've been trying to do is uncover the real usefulness of LinkedIn. And it's been a wonderful ride. I've gotten to talk with people all over the world, including folks in Tennessee and other countries like that as well.
Yeah, it pretty much is another country over here. So this is really interesting. So you've been doing this for about 10 years. This is purely just you volunteering your time. You just enjoy this?
Yeah, I don't do it for a living. When I was getting out into the retirement thing, I also wanted to do a lot of volunteer work. So the way this got started and the way LinkedIn got started, it was about job search. So I was volunteering for a couple of job search organizations and helping teach LinkedIn to those folks who were using it to try to find a job. Now, it still is that, but it's become so much more now that it's unbelievable. And the word branding comes up all the time as far as LinkedIn is concerned. So it's a branding tool. It's a marketing tool. More than anything else, it's a networking tool. And that's really what it's really about. And that's why it was such an important piece of a job search, because networking is like air. You need it to survive. And you need it to find your next contact in your next job as well.
So you mentioned LinkedIn is more like a marketing and a branding tool now. So I'm really excited to get into that. I think you might have some training, some kind of stuff to show us behind the scenes, and over the shoulder look at some of your expert insider tips. So I'm very eager to get into that, because I know I'm not fully utilizing the power of LinkedIn for myself as a freelancer. So I know we've got a lot to learn from you. I'm very excited about that. I want to kind of start out though with a game. So we're going to call it Stump the Guru. Thank you for that suggestion. I love it. So we've got several questions from members of our No Pants Academy. So if it's cool with you, if you're ready for just kind of rapid fire,
Yep.
I will just ask away, and we will sit at your feet and
Yeah.
soak it in.
No, I'll be the one who's doing the bowing. I'm the guru.
All right, great. So our first question is from Isabel, and she asks, any tips for a killer bio or intro?
Okay. I'm going to show some things. I'm going to share my screen here in a second, but to start off with, bio intro obviously translates to the summary on LinkedIn. And I actually do use, it's interesting that she asked the question like that, because I actually use mine as a bio, because I'm a speaker, because I do, 60 seminars a year. People are all the time asking me, well, do you have a bio that we can introduce you with? Yeah, I sure do. It's on my LinkedIn profile. So all they ever have to do is copy and paste that, and they've got what they need from me. So a couple of things I want to make sure before I go show you a couple of illustrations. First one is that this is, I've heard it called your elevator speech online, your elevator pitch, etc. Okay, yeah, that's true. But more than anything else, this is a conversation that you should be having with the people who come to your profile. Okay. It is a place where you can tell, first of all, I think one of the things about your summary is that it honestly shouldn't be a lot about you. It should be about what value you add to your clients. So it should be focused on your clients. It should be a conversation with your current clients and your potential clients as a part of the process. And one of the other things that is a key to this process is that there's a couple of different schools of thought here. This is nothing, I love the fact about LinkedIn that it's nothing like a resume. Okay, let's just leave it at that, because it's social media and resumes just don't mix. They're just not the same thing. One of the other two schools of thought about your summary is whether or not you should do it in first person or third person. Okay, well, that means whether or not you'd use the word I, or use something like, I'll show you on mine where it says Jeff Young does this. Okay, I think it's fine to use both, whichever works for you. For me, third person works really well because it's a bio. So if somebody's going to introduce me, they're going to, yes, Jeff Young is, got specialties like this. But I also put out there the fact that I, have done over 200 seminars in the last 3 years. So I provide this to my clients. So it's okay to use either one of those. Okay. So let's take a look at a couple that I think are good. And honestly, I did not look at yours before we did this. But I'm going to show you, use you as an illustration, okay? Because I'm going to go to my,
this should be interesting.
Yeah, share my Chrome window here, and basically bring you up, so I can show people that this is your profile, this is your brand. Yes. Honestly, and you do a good job of it, because you got something front and center that says, look, this is who I am, okay? But as we look at your summary, okay, here's your summary right below, your picture. Now, another important thing that I got to tell you about your summary is that obviously on the desktop, this is on a browser, you only get to see the first 2 lines. There's a whole lot more here. So this stuff that I'm circling right now, as far as the first 2 lines of your summary, has become what I'd call prime real estate. You have to put something up there that is the hook, that is something that is the sizzle that will want people to actually click this show more and actually look at more of you. Okay, so that's important as well. So I think you did a great job of using it to be a conversation. It's basically just an introduction that says, here it is. Okay, now I don't remember whether here's what I mean. Okay, so you actually even use the word I think that's perfectly fine. It works great. One of the other things you do down here is that for anybody who has actually taken gone that extra step and clicked show more, you've actually given them something to look at. You've actually given them a link here that takes them to your web page or maybe your Facebook page or whatever it is, but you put media out here. They don't call this thing social media for nothing. Okay, so that's the key is anytime you can add media to your profile, it helps brand you. And it helps really give your customers something to look at, or your potential customers something to look at.
So would that be a good place where we could put like a video, or in my example, I use a lead magnet here. So I lead them to a landing page where they can opt in and get on my email list. Yep. Are there other things you would suggest? Like
any kind of media is there. I mean, PDFs, you can put files out there. You can put links out there. You can put videos out there. Okay. Let me show you as an illustration. you use them. Okay? And again, I think it's anything else just a matter of degrees. But if anybody goes to my summary, as I said, it starts out with my story. Okay, so there's my few lines. And then as far as that's concerned, here becomes my bio. Okay, so it says Jeff Young, okay, does this. And oh, by the way, I think this is more important to say right now so that we don't go any further without the disclaimer. I do not work for, and I am in no way associated with LinkedIn, even though I'm the LinkedIn guru. I like it that way because that way I get to show people where the warts are. But down here, okay, is the rest of my bio and what's been going on with me most recently. And then when you look at media that I've got on here, I've put 43 different things. One of which is I'm pointing people to the schedule of my LinkedIn seminars. My seminars are always open to the public and always free. None of them are webinars usually, but they are available to local folks, usually in the Columbus, Ohio area. So that's how I advertise. And I actually put tips out here, which when you continue to scan, you'll see all kinds of tips, even one that points people to my videos, like that one, for example. Okay.
So I'm going to interrupt you again. I'm sorry. Does it help? Is there any way to kind of, in Facebook terms, like manipulate the algorithm? And by posting more media, does it help you get more visible in searches?
Yes, it does. I think most of the SEO that you're looking for is probably in the text within your profile.
Gotcha.
But more media is still a better thing because that's going to get you found. I think more than anything else, there's an approach to LinkedIn that I like to call the 3 Ps. Okay, the first thing you need to do is talk about your profile. That's the very first P, and we'll get to the second P here in a little while, and that's what I call people, and that really means connecting with people, building a network. Okay, so put your story together, and then start telling your story to a network. Or building a network. And then the third P is actually participate. And the more you do that, the better off you are. As an example, one of the things that I did today in participation is that I almost always make sure that I put something out there that thanks the folks who posted today. So I did this. Here's my post from a little while ago, a couple of hours ago, actually, because I knew I was going to do this. I basically said, well, and here's another way of helping yourself, okay? Hashtags. I may be an old dog, but I learned how to speak hashtag, so there it is. And here's a thank you to you and the folks at No Ants for actually hosting this. And I dropped a picture of the guru out there. We're doing about. And that's all it takes. And by the way, within that time frame of 2 hours, I've already had 60 views of that post.
Wow.
That's really what drives getting found more often than anything else.
Okay.
Other than, as I said, what's in your profile and the keywords that are in your profile. There's a question later on that I think talks to that as well. I think I'll just leave my screen up here. I won't I'll just bring it up here and we'll go on.
Okay. So our next question is from Anthony, and he asks, how do I find the right connections?
Yeah.
So his example is startup founders, software development experts on LinkedIn. And most of his connections are agency recruiters. So they're kind of different.
Well, actually, that's not a bad thing. Anthony and I would tell you that having connections that are recruiters is probably a really good thing because recruiters usually have a lot of other connections. So it's a matter of degrees of separation. So that's not a bad thing. But more than anything else, I answer this kind of question almost exactly the same way every single time. And that is if you're going to try to find something on LinkedIn, you need to do the search on LinkedIn. So for example, and I think the larger your network, we'll talk a little bit more about this later, but the larger your network, the better. But I don't have that huge of a network. And in other words, I want to preface this by saying that what you're about to see is what LinkedIn shows me. If you did this search, you'd see something totally different because it's about your network, not about my network. But my network isn't that huge from the standpoint of total first degree connections. I don't have a little over 500. But that 500 connections gets me just inside of the Columbus, Ohio area. Well, and I hate to go all sports on you, but if you want to know what my second degree network looks like in Columbus, Ohio, have you ever watched an Ohio State football game where they're doing their thing in the shoe that holds 100,000 people? That's what my second degree network looks like. A full football stadium. Okay. And so that gets me, within just the Columbus, that's only talking about Columbus, 100,000 people that I'm only one step away from and getting introduced to. And that's perfect. So without further ado, let's talk about that search. Let's say, for example, that you really did want to search for someone who is a software development expert. Okay, so all you have to do, I had this problem. LinkedIn is giving me problems. It was giving me problems earlier too. So hang on, there we go. Usually if something doesn't work in LinkedIn, just hit the refresh key or try it again. There's a tip for you. The refresh key is our friend. Okay, so I just look for, by the way, I did that in quotes. Hopefully everybody understands what I'm talking about, the difference in a Boolean search in terms of if I search for this same thing without the quotes, it would be searching for a profile that has system in it, a profile that has and a profile and development in it and expert in it, but not as a phrase.
Okay.
Or how you search for a phrase. So I'm actually searching for the phrase system development expert. And if I click on people, there are 84 people. Now, we need to talk a little bit more about, there's another question that probably this will answer later, but this has now found me people who are system development experts, okay, around the world. I mean, LinkedIn has over 530 million people on it. So that's who you can try to find, is someone within 530 million people. This person is one that I could get to. This person is one that I can't. If a person on LinkedIn is anonymous, which I can't understand why in the world you'd ever want to be anonymous, although I will tell you that a lot of recruiters are anonymous. They actually do that on purpose. But this allows me to look at each of these people and bring them up and take a look at whether or not I would like to connect with this person. So this is a match. Now, one of the other things I need to say here too is that I can also go over here on this side of the screen and I can use more filters as well. Mm-hmm. If I was really looking for a system development expert in the Columbus, Ohio area, I could try for, now I bring down locations, Ohio's not there, but if I actually say Columbus, Ohio, there, just by typing a few, it will redo search for me. And oh my gosh, there actually is one that is in my local area, okay, that I could actually get in touch with. So now let's take a look at this person. And I think the more definitive you can be about a search, the better off you are. The more focused you can be about a search, the better off you are, okay? So here's Yangbo Wan. Okay, I probably murdered his name, but I'm gonna go look at him. And when you look at this person, it looks like I can't connect with this person, doesn't it? Do you see a connect button here? Oh, and by the way, that's another thing that I got to mention as a really big tip. The proper way to connect with someone is never to click a connect button anywhere except on their profile, because you don't get a chance to do anything but send a generic invitation elsewhere. And this also happens on the phone. So I don't recommend you connecting with people on the phone either, because you don't get a chance to send a personalized message.
Okay.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to try to do, though. I'm going to try to send this person a personalized message, but what it says I can do is send InMail. Mm-hmm. Send InMail is LinkedIn's way of saying, wouldn't you like to pay us money so you can send somebody an email? And my answer to that has always been, no, I don't think so, okay? So I've always gone the extra mile of figuring out how to get around that. In this case, you may not see a connect button, but if you click the magic 3 dots, you do. And when I click this connect button, now I can add a note to this person, give them a message that says, hi, I found you on LinkedIn. You and I share a background. If it's a second degree connection, we may even have some of the, similar connections. Mention that kind of thing and click the send invitation, and off you go in terms of getting in touch with this person. That's why it's a fantastic networking tool. Mm-hmm. Anybody you can see on LinkedIn, you can connect with. Make sense?
Okay. So there will always be, if you click those 3 dots, if you can see them, there will always be the connect.
There will be a connect button.
Okay. See, I didn't know that. I think I've done the send InMail several times because I was like, well, I can't connect with them.
Yeah, and that's what they want you to think.
Yeah.
But again,
Tricky.
LinkedIn loves to hide stuff, because if they hide some things, you might actually think you might have to pay for
Hmm. That got
them
me.
later too. Okay, next.
All right. So this is from Marissa. She asks, I would love to know the best way to cold email potential LinkedIn clients. So um, this goes a little bit beyond the scope of just LinkedIn, but do you have any cold email tips for, like, to say, once you connect with them, how to kind of continue the conversation with a
Yeah, I
potential, let's
mean,
say, a prospect?
yeah, actually, when I thought of cold email, I thought of what I just did there. That's kind of a cold email because it's a third degree connection. Okay.
Hmm.
It's nobody I really know. So from that perspective, I'm sending them a direct message
Hmm.
that is asking them to do it. So, and normally, honestly, I don't go outside of LinkedIn, and
Okay.
you can't really know someone's email until you are connected with them. So the first step is always to
Right.
connect, make that connection first. There's one other thing I should say about and one other thing I'll tell you about whatever you're using that cold email or the cold, call, if you will. The cold calls are kind of dead because it's all about relationships now. And
Hmm.
usually you don't have to go too much further than a second degree connection. Someone knows them. Um, but if you're sending something to someone that they don't know you, they never heard from you before, do not, by any stretch of the imagination, treat it like a sales call. Do not say, I am selling widgets and wouldn't you like to buy one?
Hmm.
It's going to turn people off completely. What you're really trying to do is build a relationship. What you're really trying to do is make the connection. So that means then mention something that is interesting to you and the reason why you'd like to connect with them, other than to sell them something, because you're not going to be able to just connect with somebody and sell them something immediately. It just doesn't work like that.
Hmm.
That makes sense?
Yes. So more so build the relationship. So in that example with the guy whose profile we had pulled up a moment ago,
Mhm.
so you would do the connect, you'd add a personal note. Do you always add the personal note? Is that
Absolutely.
always okay? And so
All,
you would essentially say something about something interesting you find about their line of work or their profile, and
exactly.
give them a reason why you want to connect.
Well,
So that's your initial opening message.
let's go back to your profile. You're seeing your profile again, right?
Yep.
Okay. Well, let's say, for example, this is a second degree connection. So now, I can do two things here. I can actually ask to connect with you. Hold on a second. Okay. I can actually ask to connect you like I did before. And as I
Uh-huh.
said, the proper way to do this is click the connect button and add a note, right?
Mhm.
So I can take the direct approach. If I took that direct approach with you, I'd probably say, I see you know Sally Raymond and Lee Rowley. They're good friends of mine. Would you be willing to connect with me and network? That might be all I'd say.
Okay.
That's usually all it takes. Okay. But the other option here, and here's something people don't know. This is a little insider tip too. This is something that people don't know as well. If I've got somebody on the screen who's a second degree connection, watch what happens so I could do the direct thing by clicking connect and going that way. Okay. Watch what happens. Well, and one more thing before we go to the next thing. Instead of, if I'm really just interested in what you've got to say, and I'm interested in what you put out on LinkedIn, you don't even have to connect directly to see that person's stuff. You could do something called follow.
Okay.
So I happily recommend that anybody who wants to see what I do and wants to get more tips as far as LinkedIn is concerned, go to my profile, click more, and say follow. We don't even have to be connected for you to see my stuff.
Hmm.
Okay, so that's another insider tip as well.
And so when you follow, you get kind of your posts in my feed.
Yeah, yeah. Don't think of this as this is going to get you more emails. It's not.
Mhm.
All it's really going to happen is it's going to put my stuff onto your homepage if you should ever go out to your homepage and take a look. Okay, that's really all it is. So it's not really causing you more grief. It's not really bothering you anymore. It's just making more available to you.
Mhm.
That makes sense?
Yes.
Okay, excuse me.
So I thought of a question when we were talking about kind of how LinkedIn, it's about building the relationship. It's not about connecting and then pitching yourself.
Right.
Um,
Yes.
do you have any tips on kind of how to approach that relationship with someone who is like that third degree connection? Like, you really don't know them that well, but they accept your request to connect. So now you're
Right.
connected.
Right.
how do we
So
kind of get
we're not-
closer to the relationship with them?
I would say that the first thing you should try to do is, of course, since now you're connected, you can actually, do direct messages back and forth. You can send them a message anytime you want. The other thing, though, that I would say is that I think you need to start sharing backgrounds. You need to start sharing. You need to ask them questions. You need to make it about them. Okay. And I would say ask frequently, not every day necessarily, but I would say ask frequently. Hi, just touching base. Is there some way I can be of help to you? And that's really the way it gets started. That's the way relationships get built. You don't even have to ask them first if you've looked at their background, and if I look at you and I see that you've got some particular interests down here, as an example, okay, by reading your profile, I can find something and ship it to you. I can actually, send you and I'm not talking about sales material. I'm just talking about something that I thought you might like. That's a part of that build the relationship piece.
Mm-hmm.
Make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about the fact that I could go directly to a connection with you, but I don't. What I'd really like to do is be introduced to you.
Okay.
If I bring up your profile and you are a second-degree connection, the magic button to look for here is down here in this lower right-hand corner where hopefully you can see it says messaging.
Yes.
If I click messaging, what's the magic that happens? It comes up and it shows me the connections I have here. So now if I wanted to, I could click on Lee and send Lee a message that says, hi, Lee, how you been? Nice, haven't talked to you in a while. I just noticed that you were a connection to Kate McKnight. Would you mind introducing me to Kate? And that can happen inside of LinkedIn or outside of LinkedIn, or, would you be willing, and now he already did refer me to you because this is the reason I'm here, is because credit where credit is due. Lee told you about who the LinkedIn guru was.
Yeah.
But from that perspective, I can ask any of those folks to introduce me, and any connection like that you can bring up through the messaging, because it also says, other connections to Kate. I could choose Sally or I could choose someone else if there were other people. Make sense?
Yes, I had no idea that you could do that, or it would pull up the connections like that.
LinkedIn is doing a much better job over the last couple of years in terms of fostering and making it available as far as engaging with people. What they don't do a very good job of is telling you how. That's why I'm doing it.
Yeah, that's what you're for.
That's exactly right. I'm here to show you, the fact that there's a connect button on a third-degree connection. I'm here to show you that if you're on a second-degree connection and you click messaging, you could actually want to ask one of your second-degree connections, one of your connections, to introduce you to the other one. Okay. It's nice and easy that way, and it makes it's really kind of it makes it a lot warmer than just sending you that cold connect message, right? That's why it's a lot better sometimes.
Very cool. So I think Marissa had one other question here that was really good. She also asked, what is the best way to be active on LinkedIn so that potential clients take notice of you? Right.
And I think there's a couple of different places that you can do this. That's my third P. Okay. First P, profile, second P, people, third P, participate. And really that means interacting with your network and others on LinkedIn. That usually happens. It kind of starts from the homepage if you want. And you can do this on you can even upload videos from your phone and those kind of things. Putting stuff out there that's important to you is what you should start with. And again, like I said, that's where we came to this one that is now 47 years. I do this kind of stuff all the time. I think, honestly, since we've been talking, I think honestly, your brand begins with two words: thank you. And if you use LinkedIn to go out there and thank people for what they do for you and for what they provide, I think that's a really great way of getting noticed, because the more you do that, the more you will get noticed. So you can start that by just clicking here. You can upload a video, you can upload an image. That's what I did when I did this one. I almost always make sure that I'm sorry to use this as a Facebook term because I don't do Facebook a lot. Well, yeah, I'm the LinkedIn guru, not the Facebook guru. But I also make sure that I try to do this so that you'll be notified that I actually did say something about you. So I tagged you, okay? In LinkedIn terms, it's actually called an @mention, okay? And it works even though you and I aren't connected. You can see that you and I are second-degree connections.
Mm-hmm.
So I can also mention anybody I want to as well. And the way that works is I'm going to start that process. All I have to do is click out here, and I actually start typing the word, the character at, okay? And then I start typing your name. Kate. Okay. Yeah.
McKnight.
Kate McKnight. Yes, of course. I had a small. So do it as much as possible, as much as you can do, and it also helps to type it exactly as it would be in there, so the exact spelling. And once I've got there, you come up, I click you, and now you're highlighted. And that's how it works for anybody. Okay, whether you're connected to them or otherwise, as long as you can bring them up in that list like that by doing the at, you can highlight them. So that also, I think, helps a great deal as well. Now, another way that is a key to participating on LinkedIn, and I'm going to go away from here so I can start this. Okay, so on your homepage itself, one of the things is you go out to your homepage, you're going to see stuff that your network and others are putting out there. Every one of these things is something that you might want to take. I don't want you to spend all day out here. This is not, this is a black hole that you could actually, I've done this sometimes on Facebook, spend hours just looking at stuff out there. I want you to kind of see what is interest. Anything of interest, like I thought I saw a friend of mine. Most of these folks are somebody's commenting on something or something. So if it's out here, for example, if you get in touch or have a conversation with, here's a lady, by the way, who happens, I actually had a video conference with very recently, and she's in Ontario, Canada. So you don't have to be local in order to talk to these folks. At the end of each of these blocks, as you can see, okay, you can do one of three things. You can like them, and yes, it is exactly the same as a Facebook like. It means you clicked a button, whoop-de-doo, big deal, okay? So it's nice. It does at least, tell the person that you liked it. It does at least get you some activity, which is all activity is good activity. But whenever I see that one of my network has actually liked something, the first question that comes to mind is that, well, you hit like, what did you like about it? And so if you really want to be better at it, I would say put a comment on it in addition to the like. So you can actually comment to this person and say, wow, that was neat. I never knew that. Okay. Thanks for the tip of the week, Jeff. Okay. Something along those lines, because I do a tip of the week as far as LinkedIn is concerned. Anything like that will help you get interaction. Okay. So the comment is actually starting kind of a conversation, a virtual conversation to be sure, but a conversation. And it almost always helps to actually mention that person as well. So again, I'm probably going to mention, okay, Tara, and then start with my message, because that way they get notified for sure. I'm sure they get notified. Okay. Now, if you really want to be nice to this person, click this third button, which is a share. Where I can actually share it to my feed. So I can do the same kind of thing, only this is now actually sharing it out to my network. Okay, so my network will actually see what I want these people to see. So I'll say something like, thanks, and here we go again, at TARA, okay. I bring up time. Here's by the way, little insider tip. If you want to be more personable and do something that would be thanks, first name instead of all that other stuff that's behind her. Once you type it in and you actually do the click where it highlights her, just hit the backspace key a couple of times. And that will take off parts of it until you get back to the first name. Okay.
Gotcha.
For helping us, etc. And that gives you credit for it, and then and also passes along the article, because again, this isn't even her article that she's sharing too. Or, okay, but wait, there's more. Sorry to go all Ron Popeil on you there. But if you want, you can actually type in a name of someone you are already connected to and send it to them as a message as well.
So this is another way that, for example, once you found something out here on LinkedIn that I just connected with somebody and I thought they might appreciate it, I do that by sending it to them this way, as an example. And that starts the conversation as well.
Hmm.
The possibilities are endless. Now, by about this time, when I start talking about going through your homepage and all that kind of stuff, I think I need to mention one more thing here as well, Kate.
Sure.
Sometimes when I get to the end of my hour and a half, 2-hour seminars, people actually look at me and go, "Jeff, you really need a life." Because all you ever do is spend time on LinkedIn, right? No, that's my point. I'm trying to show people an effective way of doing this in just a few minutes a day.
Mm-hmm.
And as a matter of fact, I even wrote an article. There's that link I sent you. One of my articles is how to do 5 things in LinkedIn in less than 20 minutes a day.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
pass that on to the folks, and hopefully they can see that you don't have to spend all day on LinkedIn to make a difference on LinkedIn.
Okay. No, that's really good to know. Yes. Yeah. As freelancers, like as business owners, we don't have a ton of time, and it's good to hear you say you don't have to spend hours a day working on this. Just 15, 20 minutes, participate, connect, make some connections, and move on.
More is always better, but if you don't have the time, just make sure you do something
Yeah.
on a regular basis, something on a consistent, regular basis. One of the ways that I've actually built my brand as the LinkedIn Guru is I actually started at least 3 years ago now, putting out a tip of the week, a LinkedIn tip of the week. And when I put out that tip, people started to take notice after a while.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about just making noise either. It's about making something that people really need. It's about listening to your audience and saying, oh, I think I need to tell them about this week because this is a really hot topic, as an example. I mean, when video came out on LinkedIn, okay, they didn't even have video when they first started. You couldn't upload a video. You couldn't do video on your phone, et cetera. That's only been out, I guess it's about a year now. But when that came out, that was a big topic. So lots of folks who do LinkedIn training started talking about and put out tips about how to do videos on LinkedIn.
So when you put out tips, would you normally just share an article or share a tip and post, or would you use LinkedIn Publish?
Yeah, if someone follows me, they'll be able to see my stuff.
Okay.
Another thing that I also, as I said, let me show you, remember where I was showing you the activity? Okay. So the activity that's there,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that I showed before, which was the post that I did for this helps as well. I mentioned this before, but having a hashtag when you put your stuff out there. So again, yours obviously would have something to do with your business. So I use the hashtag LinkedIn Guru. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You should probably use
Funnel rehabbers. Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly the right idea. So the neat thing about it is if somebody doesn't even have to go to their home page. Well, when you come up, you come to your home page. But if you really want to see more of my stuff, first of all, follow me. That'll put it on your homepage when it happens. And I talk about doing this on a regular basis, talk about doing it consistently. I do my LinkedIn tip of the week, and I've seen all kinds of statistics about what days are better, blah, 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 blah. I just decided that Monday at 1 p.m. is when I'm going to do my thing. And that's how I do it. I put them out, my LinkedIn tip of the week, every Monday at 1 p.m. So if you happen to go online at Monday around 1 p.m., you'll probably see my tip if you're following me. But another thing that really helps people find your stuff is that actually, if you want to type in things that are, if they realize that I'm using a hashtag, all they ever have to do is go up to their homepage and in here, see the results for the LinkedIn Guru, click search, and it brings you up in the posts that I've done. Here's my content. So
Okay.
By the way, I was a taxi TV series fan. You may not recognize him. That's Christopher Lloyd as Reverend Jim on Taxi. Here's all my stuff. Here's all the stuff that I've posted, and here's something that I just posted as an extra. But if you scroll down far enough, it won't take too long. Although we're sitting here, we're sitting here at a few days later. Okay, there we need the link. And this is just done over the last 2 weeks. So here's one, for example. Okay, the LinkedIn tip of the week. I put out a video that says, tell your story with pride and confidence. And obviously, to see the rest of the article, you have to click see more. But That's it. And that gets me, and oh, by the way, the neat thing about it is that you will give you statistics about how many these things have had as well. Actually, I'm not seeing here because I'm doing it as a search. If I actually went here and went to my activity, so I go away, you can see that because there's something happening out there, again, 70 views on that one, 1,900 views on that one, 6,100 views on that one. If you do this consistently and you provide value for your customers and potential customers, people are going to take notice. People are going to come back on 500.
Wow. So I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty when we're scrolling. You're cutting in and out a little bit. So just to make sure, I think it's just we were using a lot of bandwidth because we're using the screen share and we're on an online platform. So, but I did, just to recap kind of what you were saying, is to put out valuable posts, share tips, share ideas with your network that you think your audience, that they would benefit from, and do it consistently to kind of build up your brand, not just.
And when you post, you're not only posting, obviously it's because you have connections. Those connections will see them as well. But the default of a post is actually to the public. That's the way it should remain.
Okay, I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, you want it
so
to be
everyone sees.
And I think even if you change it, it changes it back every time you start. But I almost never, I never look at this anymore because I put it on public and I left it there because I want word to get out and have anybody have a chance of seeing it, including my network.
So is there any benefit in using LinkedIn Publisher to publish, because I've put a few articles on there. They're actually just emails. I send my email list, but is there a certain time when you should do that, or is it better just to post? It's not about timing. It's about target or where you want it to go. Okay. The post I did, for example, just a little bit earlier that thanked you, is what's called an activity feed post. And it's not, it is a difference. There's a difference between a post and an article. An activity feed post goes out to the top of the homepage and then just starts to scroll. Yep. So it's there. If somebody actually looked at the tag, or somebody happened to be online at the time, 70 people obviously saw it, as we said. Okay, so I'm getting views that way. But it's not what I would call, the difference between it and an article is it's a technical term called sticky. It actually stays with your profile. Okay. So when you look at yours as an example, okay, again, yes, you said your articles. So when I want to see any article that you've written, they're right here. Okay. Okay. Here's your first one, and I can always find them. It's sticky. It stays with your profile. And that doesn't mean that you can't leverage those into other posts later on as well, but it's different because if you look at your article, you actually have, oh, well, that looks familiar. Yeah. You actually have graphics that you can put out here, and you've done, this one is primarily, but the neat thing is that you can actually do bulleted lists and formatting, and you can put some links in here. Okay, all that kind of stuff is not possible as much in the other ones, especially the graphics. This kind of graphic is not possible in some of those other posts. You only get one. Here, this is like publishing a magazine article online. So it's like a blogging platform on LinkedIn. Okay. See, exactly. I was thinking posts only went to your connection. So I was like, well, if I've posted an article, then everyone sees it. So that's good to know. Your posts are public as well. Yep. So now, one of the interesting things about anybody else's, and by the way, if you find someone else's article that you like, guess what? You can do the same kind of things that I talk about in here. You can like them. You can comment on them. Okay. You've seen where I'm pointing. You can also share them. Anybody who gets to your article and share it forward on multiple platforms. Oh, okay. See, so that little button is there so that you can share your own too, by the way. Okay, and I've done that. A year later, after writing an article, I've gone back out to one of my articles and shared it again on LinkedIn, because first of all, after a year, people who read it have forgotten about it. And so it's a good way of putting it back out into the, and I think articles are great because what you can build is a cache of content that then you can start to share over and over and over again as you go through the process. Which is why I sent you a link that has a link to a grid of all my articles.
I'll show, if you don't mind, I'll show that to folks. This
Yeah.
this is what I sent you. Okay, these are all my articles. Now, that's not on LinkedIn, by the way, but it is about LinkedIn, and it's just another vehicle that I use to show everybody my articles. There's the one I was talking about just a little while ago, 20 things you can do in 20 minutes or less, as an example.
Yeah, so this is a great way to build authority, build your expertise online without having like a whole separate blog or a whole separate website. It's all in LinkedIn. It makes it
Become
really
a go-to person, become a subject matter expert,
Mhm.
you become, anything you want in terms of branding yourself as something like that.
So those are, yeah, great tips on how to get noticed and get found and be active. I do have to ask, do you recommend any type of participating in LinkedIn groups? Is that anything that you found to be effective?
Yeah, there's actually a couple of different questions that I noticed about groups.
Okay, we can hold off.
Okay, well, no, that's fine. We can talk about them now. I think groups are very effective. Unfortunately, groups have become kind of a background item. I mean, do you see anything at all about groups on the homepage here, as an example?
No, it's like so hard to even find groups.
Exactly.
I've noticed.
And as hard as it is to find here on the desktop, it's even worse on the phone.
I bet.
You can't, there, at least on the desktop, and I said this before, I'll say it again, LinkedIn loves to hide stuff. Okay, if you want to explore groups, if you want to see what kind of groups might be out there for you, obviously doing a search for a group might work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'll do that now that I'm thinking about it. Let's actually say that I'm interested, and I know this. I use this kind of illustration all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want to see something about bass fishing. Okay, that may be a very personal thing to some folks, but the neat thing of it is, and some people say, well, bass fishing, that's not very professional, is it? I'm going, well, obviously you've never met a professional bass fisher person. Okay, because these people have $100,000 boats that look better than any car I've ever had. They participate in tournaments that are up to $500,000. So yes, it is a profession.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so point being is that I typed in bass fishing and it brings up everything. I just go to groups, and now I'm seeing the bass fishing groups that I can explore. Okay, so there, as you can see, there's these 3 pages of them. Okay, so that's one way of doing that. So typing in a topic and clicking on the groups tab here is an easy way to start finding groups about whatever it is the topic that you want. Okay? Now, secondly, though, if you ever want to if you join a group and you ever want to get back to groups, you have to find a way of doing that. And that's easy to do. LinkedIn loves to hide stuff. You have to know where it is. See this thing over here in the right-hand corner?
Yeah.
That technical term, honestly, I don't know what the technical term for this is, but the term that Google gave this, I think, is waffle. You need to click on the waffle, then you can click on groups.
All right.
And that will take you to your groups, which will show your highlights. This is your group's homepage. Okay, and if you want to discover more groups, LinkedIn will be glad to suggest groups to you by just clicking on the Discover, and then it will now go down through here, and you can see some of the groups that it thinks. I'm trying to scroll slower, so it was show you some of the groups that it thinks I would like. The point is, it would be a totally different set for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay,
So
that's neat.
that's one way of doing it as well. Hit the Discover. But if you want to get back to any of your groups, you click on My Groups, and then now it will show you your entire list of groups.
Mm-hmm.
This one at the top is one that I actually manage, and I want people to understand that this group is open to anybody. I would love for you to go search for LinkedIn LI tips for, by the way, the reason it says LI tips instead of LinkedIn tips for all levels of experience is that there's only one word on LinkedIn that only LinkedIn can use.
LinkedIn.
You guessed it, the word LinkedIn. So I had to call it LI tips for all levels of experience. If you just even type in tips for all levels of experience, you'll still find it.
Okay.
Please
So
go
cool.
find that group, join that group, and yes, I do have to say yes to you joining, but it's not a problem. Anybody is welcome as long as all they really are interested in is sharing and asking questions about LinkedIn tips.
Oh, great. Well, thank you for that. Yes.
Shameless plug, sorry. But that's how I help people, is lots of different areas.
Yes.
The groups are perfect. One of the other questions I think was it worthwhile to join groups that are not even a part of your, like if you're a graphic designer, should you join an attorney's group?
Yes. So Rob asked about that. Yeah.
Yeah. My answer is, yeah, why not? Having a diverse network is perfectly fine. The whole point about being in a group, though, is to discuss what the group wants to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so be careful. You have to be relevant to the group.
Yeah.
And literally, many of the groups that you see, I'm a member of over 40 groups. And I don't recommend it because that's a lot, but this is a perfect place for me. As you see all of these groups, these are all groups that I try to put my LinkedIn tips out on. And so I've done a lot of things here in local chambers, for example. Yeah, I've done a lot of things for the chamber. They've allowed me to join the group, and I get to share that with those business people in the chambers who are members of the group that they want LinkedIn tips as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's perfectly fine. I have nothing to do with any particular chamber. I'm not even a chamber member of anything. Okay, but it's still a valid place for me to share what I have to share.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I would actually say, Rob, do join groups of your target client, because that's why you're joining the group, is so that you can interact with them, you can engage, participate, not pitch yourself, but participate in the group, provide value. You can answer.
Yes.
If you're in an attorney's group and they have questions about how do I get more clients? Well, you're the marketer, so hop in there and give them your tips. That will lead them back to your profile. If your profile is set up the way Jeff is telling us to set it up, then they'll want to connect with you. They may want to do business with you in the future. So
Absolutely.
Definitely join as many of those groups of your target client as there are out there.
There's one more plus. Well, I'll hold it for later because I think it applies to another way as well. Answer to another question, so I'll hold off on it. But there are all kinds of benefits of joining a group, not the least of which is having a conversation, and again, being able to, birds of a feather, but also being able to contribute. That's really the key.
Mm-hmm. So if you're ready, I will move on to another question.
Go for it.
All right. So Rob, we've got you squared away. We talked about groups a bit there. Stephen asks next, is premium worth it? So he says, I know this is subjective, but I'm interested in getting your opinion. Supposedly you get better placement and you can see who views your profile on top of the lynda.com training.
Right. Well, one of the pluses of premium is actually the lynda.com training. If that's something you can use, it might be worth it to you. What I have always told folks is that I have been on LinkedIn since May of 2004. I have never paid them one red penny, and I don't plan on it. So, yes, it is subjective. It depends. I would never tell you not to go up here in the upper right-hand corner and click this. If you want to, try LinkedIn Premium. And if I were to go to that other person, like again, if I go to someone I'm not connected to, the same thing as doing that, clicking send email, because it's options for paying LinkedIn. And there are different options. So if you're a business, I've heard people say that this is probably the best option for the money, is that if you're a business, especially since you probably get to write it off as an expense. So yeah, I would say go there, but try it. And if it is useful to you, keep it. But if it's not, do yourself a favor. If you've got a 30 days worth of trial, well, first things first, if you get a 30-day trial, try it, exercise it, do something with it. Figure out what you can get that you got for paying for it that you couldn't get for free. Okay. Secondly, when you are close to getting to the end of that 30 days, I don't care what it takes, put Post-it notes on your refrigerator, put neon signs on your garage, whatever it takes, but say, cancel this thing if I don't want it, because you do not want them to have your credit card. And there's a word that LinkedIn has never really tried to figure out the meaning of, and that's prorate. Because usually when you select a plan, you're paying for a year's worth at once, and they've got your money. And it's very, very difficult, if at all possible, to get it back. So I'd say, yes, it's possible that you may actually make something better, and you may have some value in paying for LinkedIn. But I have never seen that value, because for me, even though, of course, my customers are all out here on LinkedIn, and I'm providing LinkedIn tips, et cetera, and I'm trying to do multiple seminars a year, et cetera. I have never found that I get anything for paying for LinkedIn that's anything more than I get for free.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that's talked about in this, when the things you can see, for example, go here. One of the things you can see is who's viewed your profile. If you don't pay for LinkedIn, you get to see the last 5 people that have seen your profile. Kate, I don't want to put you on the spot, but how many hits a day do you get?
I don't even check. I have no idea.
Well, I can't see
Not
it.
many. I mean,
You say maybe about 5 a day?
I was going to say like 20, but
Oh, that
yeah,
many a
it's
day?
not.
That
Wait,
many a day would
that
be a
might
whole
be
lot.
like a week though. I honestly, I'm not maximizing LinkedIn. That might be
Yeah.
people
No.
who have viewed it. Yeah, it can't be that in a day. So no, that might be like
No,
a
that's
month.
probably
I don't know.
and if you go out there, this number that you see, if you go out here and you see the number 20, that number 20 really represents the last 90 days.
Okay, so that's probably, yeah. That's
So
probably
maybe that's
what I'm
it, 20 in the last 90 days.
or
Okay,
30
so
days or something, yeah.
by comparison, and this is not good or bad or different. Obviously, you want that number to go up. You always want that
Right.
number to go up. But in my case, as you can see here, in the last 90 days, I've had 906 hits. That means I've had 10 hits a day, right?
Mm-hmm.
The point being is that if you don't get any more than 5 hits a day, how often would you have to go out to see the last 5 people who looked at your profile? Once a day. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so I can see the last 5. And, you know, sometimes they're going to be like this anyway. Sometimes they're going to be like this anyway. And paying for LinkedIn doesn't get you more that so you can see who this LinkedIn member is. Not going to happen. You'll never see who this person is either. Unless someone shared their name, you're never going to see who they are. I don't care how much you pay for LinkedIn. So the point being is that all I got to do is go out a couple of times a day to see who's looked at my profile. And it's not, the important piece here is it's not who has looked necessarily, it's the fact that somebody did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And again, if you could go out and look, if you would go to your profile right now, click on what I just did as far as that number is concerned and bring these people up, you'd see who those people are, and then you could go look back and you could figure out whether or not you wanted to connect with them. That's always a possibility. Mm-hmm. But half the time, I'm going to get somebody who's, you know, like this person here is already a connection who's looked at my profile.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's one of the things that you get is that you will actually get, you know, more. You'll get to see the last 90 days worth of hits if you pay for LinkedIn. If that's worth it to you to pay, well, again, let's go back to where I was. If I go back far enough here, if I go back far enough here, whoops, I went back too far.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it this way. If I go back to where I was talking about here, if finding out who has looked at your profile in the last 90 days is worth $48 a month to you, so be it. It's not that expensive, and it's a business expense. So I'm sorry to give you a consulting answer, but the answer is it depends.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And yeah, I've had 47 viewers in the last 90 days. So yeah, I don't get on LinkedIn like pretty much ever, but I'm going to be after this conversation.
Hopefully this is all helpful.
Oh, absolutely. And so, yeah, I think the solid answer there is do the free trial. They do free 30-day trials all the time. They're always trying to get you to buy premium. So just
Certainly
try it out, see how you like it.
Go ahead and do it, but exercise it. Don't just let it sit there. If you do nothing on LinkedIn and you took your free trial, it doesn't help you. You haven't figured out what you get. Okay, so but make sure that you cancel it if you're really not willing to pay for it.
Mm-hmm. So moving to the next question here, Stephen also asked, how do you handle using LinkedIn for freelancing without screwing up your full-time job search, especially if they're in 2 different domains of knowledge and experience?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I would tell you that because of the fact that you can put anything on your profile that has to do with what you do and the job, okay, that you have or are looking for, mm-hmm. I would tell you that it's important that you put something out there that would be for both. Okay, so again, at least the one job that is this current job, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but you also have a second current job. So yours is another perfect illustration here. You do this and you do this.
I didn't even know it still said I did that, but I mean, yeah, technically that's my LLC, and then
Right.
the other thing's my brand.
So okay, but the point being is that you can have more than one current job.
Right.
Therefore, you can put more than one thing out there for people to see at once as well. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. The good news is that you haven't just put it out there and made it a title and say, here, this person is, I work for this company. You're a co-founder of Flow Rehabbers. That might have been all that you would have had to do out there, but at least you put something else as a description. And the more description you have, the better opportunity you have to put keywords out there that will help get you found. Okay. And again, media down here. Here's the link again, right? Perfect idea. You can put as much media on any of the positions that you got out there as well. And then you can do this, okay? That you were here for a while, so that's there as well. So anything, I think it's okay to announce, even though you have a full-time job, that you are passionate about doing something else. And in my case, I've got, honestly, if you look at mine, I have a job, okay? And they're because I volunteer for so many different organizations. Okay? My first job, interestingly enough, and I think this is important to mention as well, my first job is as a professional networker, LinkedIn trainer, the LinkedIn Guru, working for a company called LinkedIn Guru. If you believe LinkedIn Guru is a real company, I got this bridge in New York that I could sell you pretty cheap. Okay? My point being here is that LinkedIn Guru is not a real company. It doesn't even have to be a real company. It has to be, I recommend that if you're going to be a company, you should actually make a company page on LinkedIn and put a logo there so it shows up with one.
Yeah.
But it doesn't even have to be a real company, but it's got all the comforts home that I want people to know about what I do here. And I put media on it. Okay. And here's my second job. I'm also a volunteer speaker, and I've been doing this for 4.5 years for an organization called Ability Professional. That's what I do with them. Media. I'm a volunteer speaker for an organization in Columbus, Ohio called COPEC. It stands for actually Central Ohio Professional Education Council. That's also a free training organization. I've been doing that for 7 years as well, and there's the stuff on that. And then when it relates to helping people find jobs using LinkedIn, I've been doing this for almost 2 years with Bright Management. Okay, and you notice the rest of the companies have real logos. Because mine's not a real company. So all those things all of those things are different. Okay, all of those things are for different organizations, but I put them all out there because I want to be found those of any of them. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, so don't be afraid to, I guess, put multiple experiences, multiple jobs that you have going on right now. I think it does get tricky if you're actually, I don't know if he meant he's actually actively searching for a full-time job and freelancing. So
yeah, I'm not sure.
Not 100% clear on that, but.
Well, there's some specialized stuff that you can do. If you want to announce to the world that I would not announce it on your profile necessarily, although I'd start putting stuff that would help you get found about it on your profile. But here's where I'd actually, if you're in a full-time job, but you're starting to look for another job, here's where you can turn that on. It lets recruiters know, and the good news is that it lets recruiters know without telling your employer. That's the beauty of that.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Wasn't aware of that either.
I love hearing, I didn't know to do that.
Yeah, because I didn't know, not that I want to be doing this, but I didn't know you could turn it on and your whoever, so that's private, only the recruiters see it, I guess?
That's right. That's announcing it to recruiters.
Okay. That's really good to know then. So that's.
Yeah. And I'm not concentrating on using LinkedIn as a job search tool because I have the feeling that most of these folks as freelancers have a job. They're just trying to build what they want to do as a freelancer. So.
Yeah, it's more of building relationships with potential clients, building their platform, building their authority.
Yeah, and this piece is focused on that. This piece is you announcing to recruiters that you are open to new opportunities.
Okay. So Elizabeth had a question. She asks, do you add, so this is kind of what we just discussed, but do you add your past job history even if it's in a non-related field?
And again, that answer is, it depends. Let me give everybody one rule of thumb. Whenever you're going out to do anything to your profile, whether you're adding something to it, whether you're changing something on it, whether you're even deleting something from it, okay? The thing that should be going through your mind, there should be this little voice in the back of your head nagging and nagging and nagging you and asking you one question. What is it that you're doing to your profile right now that will help get you found? So if the answer to the question of putting something that is an old job history on your profile will help you get found for what you want to be now, then the answer is yes, absolutely, put it on there. If it doesn't help, don't put it on there. It's one of the major differences between, I think, again, it's one of the major differences between LinkedIn and a resume. On a resume, people are always talking about the fact that you should never go back any more than 5 or 10 years. Okay? Mm-hmm. I have practically my entire career on LinkedIn because the stuff that I want to get found for, I can mention something about that in every single instance of what I've done for, I won't tell you how many years, but I did say I was retired. But every single instance, I can mention something that will help get me found for what I'm trying to do now. Okay? Because again, I finally figured out what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I had to retire to do it. That's not quite true. I was doing it for a lot of years when I wasn't retired. But I've decided that I wanted to be a guru. I wanted to be a teacher. And so now I'm putting stuff on my profile that is focused on what I teach and how I teach and how I can help people by teaching. And that's what you need to do. If it's good for what you want to be found as now, put it on there. If it's not going to help you get found for what you're after now, don't. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So is it having the kind of descriptions, or is it when you say that it helps you get found, is it because of the words, that types of phrases and keywords that you're using in your description of your experiences?
Yeah, that's one of the similarities between resumes and this. Keywords are still king here just as much as they would be on a resume.
Okay.
Maybe even more so here, because this is where people are actually going to search first. Okay, they may not be searching a job board. They may be searching LinkedIn first, because 92% of recruiters out there use LinkedIn now.
No idea. All right. Well, let me move on to Dee's question. She asks, what should you write in your message when you send a connection request?
I think we already answered that one. Okay, obviously don't write something that says, I've got this for sale. Try to make some sort of connection with the person. Especially if you already are, connected to some of the same people. I think that helps as well. Because you don't have a lot of space to write something here, okay? Many times I'm actually writing a connection request because I've just met someone and I've got their business card. So I may just say, thanks for giving your business card yesterday. Is it okay if we connect on LinkedIn so that we can continue the conversation? And that's all it takes.
Yeah, that's good. And then, if there's anything on their profile that sticks out to you that you just, you're like, oh, I see you do this. I'm looking to connect with more people or who do that. I think that's really cool. Would love to connect.
Yep.
It can be simple.
Absolutely. Simple as leading with a compliment that just says, hi, I saw your stuff on LinkedIn and I think this is very educational. I love what you do. Would you like to connect?
Yeah.
I've connected with people all over the world that way.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Don't overthink it.
No. It doesn't need to be War and Peace. It just needs to be effective and make the connection.
Okay. And Meredith, she asks us, how do I know the best headline or title to use that is accurate without being too generic? So she wants to be found and understood.
Yes, that's a great thing. Again, when you talk about the headline, we're talking about this one right here. Okay, and I'm going to use mine for just a second because this really does say what I do. Okay? Because I volunteer and I get paid in 3 C's: coffee, conversation, and occasionally chocolate. I'm a professional networker, and that's how I get paid. Now that may be a little too cutesy for some people, but it's a real conversation starter, believe me. Because half the time I'm saying that, and if I actually, it's almost like a part of my elevator speech or part of my intro speech. I introduce myself that way, I usually end up saying right after that, oh, by the way, Chardonnay is a really good C. Something along those lines. So it gets the conversation going. This piece is honest to goodness. In addition to your picture, it is, and your name, it's one of the 3 most important things that you'll ever put on LinkedIn is this professional headline.
Okay.
Because it follows you everywhere. No matter where someone looks at you, you are going to see it. Okay. They see it no matter where you happen to be. If you'd actually gone out and replied to my, anybody who points at you anywhere, well, here, let's just point at anybody out here. When I point at this person, look what pops up. What popped up for him is president of Unmarketing, keynote speaker, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? That's nice, but it's a lot more title than what I'd use for example. Okay? So it's really your Nike Just Do It. It's your brand. You should tell people in that sentence, and they only get about 120 characters, by the way. So in those 120 characters, you have to tell people what your brand is and why you are passionate about doing what you do. It's the best way to go about it. Okay? And I like yours as well. I think yours is not as cutesy as mine, but you tell people what you do. Okay? This is stuff that you want to get found as. And so that's what you do. Okay? I think Lee's is good too. I want to pick to give me this. He says author, copywriter, sales funnel builder. See? And oh, by the way, he gets a little personal about this and says indiscriminate guzzler of coffee. And if you know Lee, that is exactly what Lee,
fueled by coffee.
What Lee does. He actually says, even in his summary, and he said this to me before, if you see me without a cup of coffee in my hand, call the proper authorities.
Yeah.
So,
and
again,
so I love. He's got. That's how you have the brand, and you don't, and you're not just generic. If you have the kind of little personality bit along with those keywords, so he's got his keywords are author, copywriter, sales funnel builder, and then he's got the little.
Yeah. And titles are fine, but everybody's got a title. Okay? Titles don't mean the same thing to everybody anyway. Give them something that they can get to know you a little bit by, and that means putting something like this in there. I mean, there's one lady who does something like I do, and she's actually from the Netherlands, and she calls herself the LinkedIn Demystifier. I love that.
I like it.
Yeah, it's perfect. She puts that up there, and she says that I demystify LinkedIn for people. That's what I do. Okay. There's another person that was actually a couple. There's one who's actually close by to me in Cincinnati, Ohio, and then there's another one in Australia that puts something up there that they call themselves the LinkedIn Ninja. It's like, oh, I wish I thought of that one. I really like that one. But again, that's what, and the good news, I think one of the other things about this is that you ought to put something in here that you hear from other people. Because your brand is not what you say it is. Your brand is what other people say you do.
Or what other people say about you, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's
it's
their perception.
reputation, so.
So very good advice for headlines there. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And moving right along here, Kimberly asks, how does one keep searching leads when LinkedIn tries to tell us we've hit the commercial limit?
Ah, yes. The dreaded commercial search limit. Well, I do things that get around it, okay? This can go back to where we were before. If I do this search that I did before, for example, that was, systems development, or let's say I did this as well. I searched and I get about 1.9 million results. Now, if I've reached the search limit, LinkedIn is only going to show me a few, right?
Okay.
I think the interesting thing is that if you're doing searches, you should be as definitive and focus on your searches as possible anyway. If you're going to search for somebody who's got a title of a founder, you're not really searching for the world of founders. You're searching for founders that happen to be in your local area. He said, as he typed in Columbus, Ohio area again, right? And that gets it down to a dull roar of 4,800. So be as definitive as possible when you go through the searches, and that way you avoid the search limit to begin with, okay?
Okay, so refine it. Really drill down into who your target, who your dream client is before you just search for anybody.
Exactly. Don't be as definitive as possible. Now, by the way, when you reach the commercial search limit, that doesn't mean that you can't do searches. It means that LinkedIn's only going to show you about 4 results. Okay, so I use this one all the time. I do a search as an example, okay, that I might be looking for somebody who's a CIO, okay? That's a bunch of people, but in the Columbus, Ohio area, it's only 218. Okay, so I started it with it that way and left the search for Columbus, Ohio there. So now I don't go back to the beginning and search the whole thing again. I just adjust what I've got here. So that way I'm not doing a broader search anymore. I'm really just refining the search that I've got here. So as an example, one of the things that I want to do there is I use that, and I use industry all the time. I want to talk to a CIO that happens to be in the banking industry.
Right.
Okay. So Bing, banking, guess what, my search results is down to 3. And even if I had reached the search limit, I'd still see all 3 of these.
Okay.
That's my whole point. Okay.
So it doesn't actually cut you off. It just limits.
Says, wouldn't you like to pay us so you can search? There it is again. That, by the way, is one of the benefits of the business plan, is that there is unlimited search.
Okay.
So
Good to know.
Yep.
And because I was going to ask, a lot of our freelancers don't do local people, so they wouldn't necessarily use the locations filter, but I like that you just showed us you use industries as a filter a lot of times, so that can help us kind of narrow down the niche that we are working, or the vertical we're working within. Yep. I'm sure and what about keywords? Is there any other kind of the filters you would recommend?
Are really more like the filters I use already. Okay. So the only keywords you get here in terms of free is first name, last name, title, or company. So you could go for a particular company, of course, if you've got and by the way, here's another thing that you can do as well is if you've reached the search limit, maybe what you might want to do one of these days in terms of going and trying to find somebody, if you don't want to do the searches or it's cuts you off, is you actually want to go to your groups. And a group that you know is an affinity of yours, okay? So in case of like a group of attorneys, or something along those lines, or I might actually go back out here to some of my old alma mater where I used to work at Ernst & Young. And the neat thing about doing this is you can go out here, and there's 60,000 people out here. I can just start scanning through them.
Okay.
I can start looking for, each of these kind of things, and so I can look at each of these persons, and there is no limit here. Absolutely no limit. And the neat thing about any of these people, notice, let me try to illustrate that. Yeah, see, notice this person is a second-degree connection. Here's another really good reason to belong to groups. This person is a second-degree connection, but right over to the right of this person's name is a message button, meaning that if he and I are a member of the same group, I can actually send him a direct message without being connected to it.
And you could send a message to connect, something like that, just to kind of start the relationship.
If I was going to do that, I would not click the connect here. I'd actually go view his profile. I'd actually bring him up like this and click the connect. Hang on, it'll take a few seconds here.
That's right. You said connect from their profile.
Yes, so that's how I'd connect.
Okay.
But if I was going to, just wanted to send him a message, I don't even have to send him a message to be connected to him to send him a message if we were members of the same group. So that's another plus of being involved in a group. Anybody on the group, if you can bring them up, you can find them and send them a message. And again, as long as I know the person's name that I'm really interested in, okay, I can do that. And one of the things that I can do here, for example, is I can actually search within a group for all the marks, which brings those up and makes it a little easier to find.
Okay, that's like you said, another great reason to be joining groups. Another way to build those connections, build relationships. Again, I don't think Jeff would recommend you hit message and then hit them with your cold sales pitch.
No, don't do that. But start a conversation with the person. Okay? Mention something that was the reason why you really wanted to reach out and touch base with them. And it has to be something other than, I want to say you something.
Yeah.
That's just not going to work.
That's not the right stage in the relationship. You need to wait on that just a minute.
You need to, yeah, you need to build a little bit of a relationship until they, get to know you a little better, and then you can start talking about that.
All right, that was definitely a LinkedIn secret ninja tip there.
Yeah, I told you I should have been a ninja.
Or a wizard or something.
It was good for me.
So Angelique asks, she said, I think several others have touched on this a bit, but how do we take a LinkedIn profile that has been directed at a full-time employee and begin to transition to building connections for freelancing? So her example is she's still working full-time, but she wants to start kind of shifting her profile and connections to be geared more for freelancing.
Right. And again, that is kind of what we discussed before when we discussed putting all those different things on your profile. That would be a different job. It's okay to put something else that's not related to your full-time job on your profile. And then you can start to describe it. And then you can also, when you put it on your profile, you've got a chance of at least being found about it, right? Mm-hmm. And then secondly, you can start to talk about it out there with others, that you want to interact with. So I think the transition is nothing more than putting that information on there so that somebody can see it.
Okay.
And I don't think that's against the rules as far as what you would do, unless there's a total conflict of interest between what you do as a full-time job and what you are thinking about doing as a freelancer. Mm-hmm. I don't think that, they're two separate things, and therefore they can be two separate things on your LinkedIn profile too.
So would you suggest to go ahead and kind of make your summary, like your headline and summary, more geared towards freelancing?
Yep.
I guess it kind of depends your relationship with your employer too. If they don't know you're doing, like you said, if there's a conflict of interest, then you probably need to discuss that with your employer. But
yes. But again, you introduce yourself a certain way and you put stuff on your profile to be found in a certain way. The more you do that, the better off you're going to be. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with saying that, I want to be this when I grow up. I'm really passionate about this.
Yeah.
That belongs either in your descriptions of the job or on the summary. There's nothing wrong with saying that anywhere on your profile.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we've got one final question from a pantsless member, no pants member. Kristen says, is it worth connecting with people outside of your chosen field?
I think we've answered that one because I definitely would say yes.
Okay. Because I would say this part of it is that I get a lot of like random invitations to connect from people that I never hear from again. So
well, if
you'll say yes.
Yeah. Well, we can cover that if you want, because I think there's an etiquette to how when you get a random invitation from somebody and they really haven't told you why they'd like to connect, which is what I've been telling you to do. Okay? There is an alternative there. Let's cover the first one first. A more diverse network is a better network.
Okay.
You don't have to be, in one silo. You don't have to be in talking about the whole same kind of thing all the time, because those people know other people, other people, you can help others, with doing that. So I think, again, it is worthwhile connecting with people outside of your chosen field, because that actually makes you a better, well-rounded person and gives you an opportunity that if you get to know somebody that, for a silly illustration, just say, for example, I'm an attorney, but I know somebody who wants to get introduced to a bricklayer. Okay. Mm-hmm. If I'm actually outside of that and I know somebody who's a bricklayer, I'm going to be able to point that person in the right direction. And honestly, that's really one of the main functions, I believe, as far as LinkedIn is concerned in the first place. I use LinkedIn as a tool for this. I find someone who's got a need. I find someone who can fulfill that need, and I connect them. Mm-hmm. And if you're a connector of people are going to come back to you for lots of things, not just to be connected with somebody else.
Good point.
Okay. Now, let's talk about that so that we can finish this off with I think, a really key tip in terms of connecting with others. Because LinkedIn fosters so many generic invitations, you're going to get a lot of generic invitations. I mean, every single invitation practically that's sent from a phone, a smartphone or a tablet is a generic invitation, because it's hidden about how you could do what I showed you to do. So usually I say connect from the desktop, click the connect button, etc. But you're going to get invitations from people who haven't done that. Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you that that's going to show up here under my network. you'll see these invitations if you click on My Network. Okay.
Okay.
And by the way, this is the only place you'll be able to see because I'm looking at my own profile. This is the actual total number of connections I have. I only have a little over 500 connections. Okay. But I have over 2,500 followers. So that means a lot of people are looking at me without being connected to me.
Okay.
No, this is a generic invitation. Okay. So I click My Network. It brings up your invitations. I can tell this is a generic invitation. How? Because there is absolutely no message along with the invitation. If someone had actually sent me a message, there would be a partial or the whole message here where I could actually read it.
Right.
There'd actually be a button if there was a message that says reply. But it looks like I can't do anything with this person. So the very first thing that you should do is you should look at this person. Okay, find out who they are. I'm not going to show you them their profile. Just suffice it to say that that's what I did. I go look to see if this person, to see if there's any reason at all that we might be good as far as connections is concerned. We might be able to help one another. And if that's true, I come back and I say accept.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not true, though, there are more options than the other option, which is the only two options you see here, accept or ignore. Again, it's a hidden feature of LinkedIn that you have to know where to go so that you can actually start a conversation with this person.
Okay.
If I'm on My Network and I want to actually see and send a message to this person, I have to click Manage All. If I click Manage All of a sudden, any of the invitations that are generic messages now have a message button next to them.
Okay.
So don't ever look a gift connection in the mouth. It may be the greatest thing that, since sliced bread and night baseball, that you connect with this person, but you don't know that until you start a conversation. This is how you start that conversation. Okay.
Okay.
Click My Network, then click Manage All, then click Message. And that literally does open the message box. It allows me to send a message to this person. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Now, you send that message and then give them a little bit of time to respond. I mean, they may be on vacation, so you leave it out there for a little while to see if they actually get back to you. But if it's been 2 weeks, or in this case, for example, 3 weeks, okay, guess what I got back from this person?
Nothing.
Zilch. Absolutely nothing. Okay. Butt kiss, I think, is another technical term for that. Okay. The point being here is that here's my logic when it comes to that one. I tried to reach out and have a conversation with this person. They didn't even do me the common courtesy of replying to my email.
Right.
Are they really interested in networking with me? I sincerely doubt it. So now that's when I go for the ignore.
Okay.
And I always leave one of these up on my profile so I can use it as an illustration. Okay, so I'm not going to click the ignore button. But one of the other common questions about this is that when I click the ignore button, what happens? Okay. Absolutely nothing other than processing the message, and it won't even tell them you ignored them.
Okay.
So nothing happens. You just process the invitation. Wouldn't even keep them from actually trying to invite you another time. But you processed it. It's now out of your queue. You're done.
That's so good to know because, you think, or I just thought, I only have two options here. I guess I'll accept them because they might, like you said, they might be the greatest thing since sliced bread. But so good to know that you can send them a message and qualify them. And if they don't respond, then they're probably not serious, and it's probably okay to ignore them.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
It's not a bad thing to ignore them. It's just processing the message. You're out.
Yeah.
It's not like it goes up there. It's not like it goes out there, smacks them upside the head, and says, "I don't hate you."
Right.
Doesn't go high school on them or anything like that.
Great. Well, that was a excellent tip to kind of end on. I know I've kept you longer than I said I would, so I apologize, but thank you for the amazing tips. Is there anything that we should have asked you that we did not?
Oh, goodness gracious, yes. But I can't think of anything off the top right now.
I know there's ways we can learn more about you. You showed probably a lot of things we didn't ask. We're on that FYI page, which we will get linked up for you guys underneath this video.
You can always go out and find out more, okay, by just going to my profile, my activity, okay. All of those kind of things are there because, again, but that one link that I gave you is a link well, I'll show it. I did show it, didn't I? Never mind. I don't need to show it again. It's a link that's a kind of a grid view of all my articles,
Yeah.
so you can get at it. I will tell you this. I think it's the interesting thing that sometimes people say is that, wow, this is really a lot more than I really ever thought it was. This is overwhelming.
Mhm.
And it can be. But sometimes I actually honestly start my presentations by introducing LinkedIn as the invisible elephant that's over there in the corner. Okay. It can be like that a lot sometimes. Okay. I mean, it's invisible. You can't see it. You certainly, since it's an elephant, you can't get all your arms around all of it at the same time, right? And sometimes, unless you're patting it down, you can't even find the trunk versus the tail. So it's tough. Okay. It can be. It's a little overwhelming, but the whole point about approaching LinkedIn is the same approach as to how you eat an elephant, one bite at a time. So just keep doing stuff. And the more you do, the more you'll learn. And the more you participate, the more you'll learn. So you become, believe me, an expert or a guru without having to spend a great deal of time over time. Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jeff, for your time today. That was such an eye-opener for me. Yeah, I know I'm leaving so much on the table on LinkedIn because I'm hardly ever even on there, but now I'm all fired up. I'm excited to start working more in there. We will definitely link up I can't remember the link that you showed us earlier with, your grid view of all your articles. Also, I would love to, link up your LinkedIn group so that if you freelancers want to jump in there and ask more questions, participate, then you can certainly do that. But thank you.
I'm sorry. I beg your pardon. After we're done, I'll make sure that I send you a link to the group as well so that you can.
Excellent. Yes, thank you so much. And so we'll see you in the group, or we'll talk to you. Maybe we can connect with you on LinkedIn as well.
Absolutely. Yep. Man, it'd be my pleasure. And also, when this gets done and you've got a link to it, I'd love to actually be able to leverage it and watch it and show it to other folks as well. So.
Right. So, thank you so much for your time, Jeff, and we'll talk soon. And thank you, No Pants Academy members, for watching. And